Abzu is the debut and first game coming from the developers over there at Giant Squid Studios, with the follow-up title being The Pathless. Abzu was published through 505 Games, and interestingly enough, a good portion of the development team came from another indie dev studio known as That Game Company. This studio was responsible for giving us Flower, Flow, their critically acclaimed game Journey, and that game that I've always wanted to come to the PS4 consoles, known as Sky, Children of the Sky. Thank you, gaming gods, that prayer is answered. But anyway, looking at the presentation along with Abzu's direction in terms of gameplay, I can see remnants of That Games Company's DNA is hidden, but recognizable. More on that later. To be honest, when you look at the very first trailer that was shown Fosco years ago, one will be able to see the differences in tone and possibly the mechanics between what was shown here and the final product that we got. To me, this trailer seemed a little bit more darker, and even the design seemed a little bit, mature. And that's in contrast to this Pixar looking final product that I played on console. But speaking of consoles, I'm rocking with the PlayStation 4 version, so let's get into it. Alright, so the story of Abzu is a tad bit abstract, but for what I can gather after completing the game, this is the gist of what I think the overall plot is about. So in this world that was covered by water as if Noah's Ark didn't end, creatures of the deep thrived in harmony. Somehow an ancient society of advanced sentient humanoid robots existed. Their role was to consistently take the spiritual energy of this world, which came in the form of water, and cleanse it to perpetually keep the life of its denizens abundant and prosperous. Somehow along the way, these machines kinda stepped into the picture and started doing things that upset this, which essentially brought death to this world's environment and inhabitants. Like, I don't know, filling the environment with an absurd amount of explosive mines, and things not limited to animal cruelty. Thinking back on it, it wouldn't be too far-fetched to think that this game seems like a metaphorical message coming from environmentalists to be aware of negative consequences of what happens when humans tamper with nature. But we don't mess with nature, right? We're humans, we doing well in the real world, right? But yeah, that's what I believe the story is about, at least from my perspective. If you can't tell, this game is beautiful. There were many times where this underwater world was almost photogenic with how realistic some segments seemed. The majestic and aquatic vistas explored comes with some of the most spectacular sceneries, making the environment possess life in its depiction of nature. I remember many areas coming with its own type of depth of scope, with colors popping out making things seem so lush and natural. And then there were these areas that somewhat seemed similar to a shrine or something. These areas looked as serene as they were sacred. I couldn't tell if I was swimming or if I was just flying around in the vastness of a night sky among the stars. But enough about the environment and waterscapes. Let's take a look at the denizens of the ocean, beginning with the main character. This interesting being looks like somebody took the character design of Celti from the anime Durarara and made a scuba version of her black biker outfit. After that, I would imagine them keeping the inspiration of her bicycle helmet that resembled cat ears. But if you look up close to the character's face, it only shows its eyes, so needless to say, there's no sense of an emotional expression to be found. And really, it looks like the eyes are just being projected from a television monitor, like another character I know from an anime. It reminded me of Kanti from an anime called Fooly Cooly. But besides the game's setting, the underwater life is as much as the main character as that of which the player controls. The diversity of various schools of fish, their movement and detailed attributes made me appreciate the time and energy developers must have placed within crafting such. To put it simply, Abzu is centered around exploration, where the player will just be solving environmental puzzles and hit switches in order to move on to the next area. To help accompany the player is this small little droid that follows you around and helps clear paths. There will also be obstacles where the player will have to be careful to avoid as to, not get destroyed. And as beautiful and spacious as the visuals may seem, its job at exhibiting such, unfortunately, is just an illusion. Abzu is as straightforward as any linear game is. You do have plenty of room to explore, but you can only go so far before the game automatically redirects the player back to the zone in which they have to work with. The point of this game is activating these shrines peppered throughout the world. Doing so will rejuvenate the underwater environment with more life. So, what exactly is all that the player have to expect from playing this game? Well, there's going to be a whole lot of swimming, doing flips, boosting yourselves, and even riding on fish. There are some segments where you will see the character awkwardly walking around, but yeah, that's it. In my honest opinion, the controls was really easy to understand and quite responsive. But the question is this game fun? Yes. And to me, I think it's going to be the curiosity of the player that will keep him engaged. Now, within Abzu, there is no such thing as finding new abilities, leveling up, or any mechanic like that. Abzu is truly an enjoyable experience, kind of like an interactive Fantasia or Pixar film. One of the main things that helps this player be, for lack of a better term, submerged within this world of Abzu is its sound design. So just by looking at this game, what would you think the primary focus would be? Water, duh. But here it was done to perfection. Every movement, whether subtle or noticeably quick, will be reflected within the effects of how the water sound. And hearing things off in the distance conveyed to me as the player that yes, this is a beautiful and vast world, but at the same time, you're alone. But really, if you have a big stereo system or surround sound, the quality in which you will experience this game will be on a well-crafted theatrical level. Abzu's music was done by Austin Winery, who has done music for many games and movies as well. Most notably for me, at least when it comes to video games, are Journey, The Pathless, Absolver, the Banner Saga Trilogy, John Wick Hex, and even that Assassin's Creed Syndicate game. Mr. Winery brings a level of serenity, calming, and a euphoric element to the atmosphere of Abzu, which matches the visuals quite well. Many songs gave me that nostalgia feeling like the first time I heard James Horner's 1995 music composition of Casper's Lullaby from one of my favorite childhood movies ever, Casper. This is the exact same feeling that I had when I heard Abzu's first opening song known as To Know Water. Dwelling within this music composition are soft strums of the string instruments accompanied by some of the most soft vocals that can carry a person into a state of tranquility. Expect this to be the main element expressed throughout most of, if not all, compositions. And for that, I truly love it. It's so relaxing. But don't take my word for it. Go ahead and pick up this OST for yourself. Links will be provided in the description as always. Abzu is an enjoyable work of art to experience. The game's world is something that I want to know more about, and there are rumors and theories that connect Abzu's world to Giant Squid's sophomore game The Pathless, and I'll probably talk more about that within that review though. Now, remember what I said in the intro that some of the DNA from that game company's characteristics appear within this game? Well, it's about time that I kinda get into that, and I will be using that game Journey to draw my comparisons. Starting with both games similar choice and direction, whereas the player controls the protagonist relative to some kind of group of ancient civilization told through hieroglyphics to complete a journey to make or do something of importance. Both capitalizes on using non-verbal communication and doesn't really emphasize depth too much within their games. Lastly, both tend to have some cinematic sequences and a spectacular ending like a huge crescendo at the end of a musical masterpiece. Fun fact, the art director of Journey was the one who pitched Abzu to that game company. His name is Matt Nava, but I guess things didn't work out that way evidently. The concept of this game being primarily taking place within water was a response to Journeys with its sand and land setting. And with everything covered, it's time to wrap up this review. I strongly believe that people should pick this game up. It's definitely eye candy. Abzu is now available for the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, and Steam for Windows for only $20. And for the people that's been rocking with me looking at my reviews, I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you. And until next time, be safe out here, and peace y'all.
And don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit up that notification bell, and I gotta go.